Thank you, folks. As the credits roll, first of all, I need to note this film is dropping on Netflix on October 25th. So coming up, turns out that's next week. Please tell your friends and help spread the word. We are, first of all, honored to have here to moderate the conversation none other than Sheila Nevins. Thank you, Sheila, for being here. She is going to be speaking to, where I think we'll put you at the end. She's going to be speaking to the director of the film, Benjamin Ree. Benjamin, thank you for being here. And we are honored to have here Mats's parents, Robert Steen and Trude Steen. Where are you guys? Thank you so much for being here with us. And Sheila, I think that's it for now. I'm going to hand things over to you. It turns out the producer of the film actually also did make it here. She made it in time. Ingvil Giske.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, thank you.
But you didn't give me enough time to practice her name. Ingvil, thank you very much. We'll bring you a chair, don't worry.
Yeah, I can stand.
Sheila, I hand it over to you. Thank you very much.
I don't want you standing, though. Do you want to?
Yeah. The chair will be brought.
Oh, okay, fine. Can you hear me?
Thank you and hi.
Thank
nice
you for this incredibly beautiful, wonderful, important film. And thank you. I can imagine how very hard you worked on this. And you parents, I mean, I'm a parent, and I know what it feels like, but I could never be or do what you did. So thank you for being the most extraordinary duo. And I don't know who you are. You just popped in. What was your role?
Hi, I'm the producer.
Good for you.
I'm a very lucky producer who was allowed to work on this film.
Good for you. And you got Crosstown in no time at all, is that correct?
Sorry?
Did you come from another screening?
Yeah, there was another screening that was delayed. Right. So I did a Q&A by myself.
But this is the more important screening.
That was why I was rushed here, because everyone was like, you need to come to this one, which is more important.
I've seen a lot of documentaries. I think this is, especially being here in this place where we respect disabilities and we really honor the pain of disability and the courage it takes to live as a different kind of person who really wants to be accepted. But your son was the most extraordinary of this, and it's a tribute to you that you allowed him in his own private way to be who he was, and so I congratulate you on that. Did you learn anything from the film? Did you know something about him that made life different for you? Are there things you felt you succeeded in and could have done differently or not?
Well, after he passed, we really got to know Mats in another way, because we knew that he was a kind, lovely person, but that he was able to help so many people out there we didn't know. That was first when Benjamin started digging in all the stories. So you were a little, Robert, you wanted to say something?
Maybe just add on to that. Mats was born in 1989. That's 35 years ago. We lived under the same roof. We saw each other every day for 25 years, 4 months and 15 days. And then we have spent 10 years learning about his life. That has been a strange kind of experience, also through this movie. That's a universal question, has nothing to do with handicapped or a shortened life or anything like that. It's more the question about how much do we really not know about each other? Because so much of our lives happen in our heads. Love, hatred, frustration, anger, all these things are invisible. The important things in life we don't see. And that, I think, is one of the major things we have learned throughout this film about Mats, and also the story, which we have learned so much about after his passing. And it's also, of course, another kind of fundamental question. When are you dead? For us, Mats is very much here still. We were in Stockholm.
How would you answer that? When are you dead?
Well, Kai Simon, the leader of Starlight, in his speech at the funeral, he said that you're going to die at least twice. Once is when your body disappears, and then hopefully much later, when the last person remembering you leaves this world. That is probably the second time you leave or die. And Benjamin and I, we were in Stockholm, Sweden, 3 weeks ago for the release of the music. And then we met with Rasmus. Rasmus is the main animator who have made all this animation come through. And he lived with his mother. He was 30 years old and he worked in a warehouse. He made so much money out of this animation that he has now his own apartment. And he told us, I got this from Mats, and that was 3 weeks ago. So when do you die?
Well, I hope before I die, I've earned the money that the animator has earned. And tell us about you and what you did. You're so young.
I read about Mats's life in an article that I found on Facebook. It was Mats's uncle who published it, and he was my teacher.
You knew nothing about Max before you started?
No.
Good for you.
So, but I knew his uncle. He was my teacher at school. He was also the one that taught me filmmaking when I was about 11. And he played in a lot of my amateur films when I was younger.
Is that why you read the book, or would you have read the book?
I think I wouldn't have read about Mats if he hadn't posted about it.
So you see, teachers, what you can start if you really try hard enough. So
And then I just called him up and said, I've been crying now for many hours after reading about Mats. And then he told me that Robert had filmed Mats's whole life from the day he was born. And then something very strange happened, because first I began digitalizing these family videos.
You should be looking at them and not at me. I wish my seat was in a different way. But
So I began digitalizing those tapes from Robert here. And the first footage I saw was of Mats as a baby. And right beside Mats was another baby that it looked a little bit like me as a baby. I thought I was laughing a bit because, haha, it looks like me as a baby. And then I saw it was actually me because my parents was there. So the first footage I saw was Mats and me together in a playpen. And it felt almost meant to be, in a way. And then I called up my mother and I asked if she could have a look in our family album, and she had a photo of Mats and me there in that playpen. So that was the very beginning of this project being made. And the idea from the start was both to tell the story of grief, of the sorrow, and how Trude and Robert, they are re-evaluating their son's life. But it's also a film within the film where it's the animated part. And to my knowledge, it's the first time a documentary recreates an actual lived Avatar life in retrospective. And what I found there very early on was that it was a coming-of-age story there.
I didn't hear that.
It was a coming-of-age story there of Mats growing up, and I could recognize a lot of those things in my own life, but he experienced that inside the game. So that was the initial idea for making this film.
Do you feel that Mats would have liked this film?
That's a very, very, very difficult and also very good question. I hope so. I can't know. I think maybe Robert and Trude could answer that. Or what would Mats have said about a film like this?
I think Trude has a very good answer to that. You see how we pass things on?
When he can't answer, he just throw it back to me. Well, I must say that he was a shy person. He didn't like to be at front of things. So I think he would have thought that we were crazy to do this. But after seeing the movie, I think he would just been proud. I think so. He would have approved.
Well, that's probably the highest compliment anyone can pay a filmmaker. So, and as the producer, how did you get involved in this?
I worked with Benjamin and several other people on this team on his previous film, The Painter and the Thief. And then Benjamin and I had read an article about this story, and he started telling me about it.
And where do we think the name Ibelin came from? How did Mats come up with this name?
From a movie called Last Kingdom.
Called what?
Last Kingdom.
Oh,
It was
really?
a movie, yes.
Uh-huh.
It was a district or a land called Ibelin there. So I think it was from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had no idea that not any of this was going on?
I think the honest answer to that is no. We were, I think, very traditional parents. We strongly believe that we were the best generation parents ever born. We went to all the parental meetings in the school. We went to all the handball matches of his sister Mia. We knew all the parents of the physical friends, but we spent only 5 minutes in analyzing and understanding the online gaming or the screen usage, and then we condemned it for years. And in the meeting with other parents, we had a competition on who would limit the time in front of the screen most, and those were the heroes amongst the parents. So that's the true answer to that question. Mats, he tried to invite us into understanding what this was all about, but personally I was sitting there for half an hour and then I was bored. And I went to the real screen, which is called television in Norway. And it was football on television, and that was so much more exciting than what I was seeing on this screen. So that's, I think, the answer to that. And in a way, what we have learned through this story sharing, and also with the help of Benjamin and Ingvil, digging into what this was all about, has actually changed that mind 180 degrees. So that's the honest, true answer.
What has surprised you most in people's reaction to the film?
Well, I think that we have had movie screenings in Oslo or in Norway for 3 months, and what surprised me most is the average age of the audience. I think it's around 50 years old. And it shows that it's not the young gamers who goes to the cinemas to see these things. To be honest, the young gamers probably don't know what a cinema is. But having said that, it is the parents and the grandparents that go and see this movie, and then they go home and discuss with the younger ones. And not only discuss, they go home and apologize for really doing something which was wrong. And what they tell us is that this is a movie which to a certain degree are opening our eyes. There was something there which we didn't see either. And that's the main feedback we get from the audience and from people.
Are you implying that you might have done something wrong?
Well, I'm not applying. I did actually do something wrong.
What was that?
Well, I condemned something which I really didn't understand. There is a saying in Norway where we say that you should first understand for then to be understood. And we didn't understand before we condemned the online gaming. And that's where we made the mistake as parents.
Do you game now?
Well, I have something called Quiz Planet, which is a quiz competition that I do with 25 Europeans. Every day, every year on the 18th of November, which was the day he passed away, we are invited into World of Warcraft to this annual ceremony. It is in a wonderful landscape called Elven Forest on an island. And the problem is that to get to that island, you have to be on level 40 in this game, which means that you have to be gaming for several years. We don't have an avatar with that kind of level. But we have got a small dwarf at level 4, and they send out a griff to get us at Stormwind set his gates, and he flies us into this island. That's the way you can cheat your way into that ceremony. And there we sit still for an hour or two, and we listen to the stories they share about their friendship with Ibelin, our Mats.
Oh, that's wonderful. How do you feel about going places with this film? Do you feel you're giving a message to parents? You said yes. I understood that part of it, but it's hard work to promote and to be in front of a film. Why are you doing it?
Well, again, to be honest, this is quite surreal, isn't it? Oslo, Norway is quite far away from New York. And when Benjamin called me, his opening line was, "Are you like my father?" And I didn't know who Benjamin was, and certainly not who his father was. And then he said that, "I'm sorry, I get carried away a little bit. I have to elaborate a little bit on that." My father, I was born the same year as Mats, and my father and a lot of fathers had these VHS cameras that they went around and really bothered the family with. Were you such a father? And I could confirm to doing that. And then he came with this idea of making this movie. And my idea was that maybe this will be great so that my family can have a movie to show the grandchildren who their uncle was and so on and so forth. But that is in a way how far we thought this would go. And then when the project moved along, it looked like it would be a good movie. And then we had this dream. And the dream that was that maybe it will be shown in a cinema in Norway. But that is how far we actually thought this film will go. Now we sit here with you guys in New York. This is just surreal. But to answer your question, I'm not very good at that, but I will try now to answer your question. I think that if we are able to share something in this movie, it is about the saying I said, try first to understand, for then to be understood. That's one thing. The other thing is, I just came to mind now, we got a mail from a 93-year-old man who had seen the movie, and he said that my analysis of Mats or Ibelin is that he had a superpower. And the superpower of Mats was that he made the most out of the life he was given. And how many of us can say that we made the most out of the life we were given? And then he says, in addition, he had a secret. And the secret is that he found the value in helping others. So one superpower and one secret. If that is something that people can take away after this movie, I think it has been worth the big effort it has been. Because, of course, it's been a lot of work, but it's also been an emotional roller coaster to open up all these memories again.
Do you sit through the whole film each time, or do you?
I have seen the film 132 times, and I'm counting. And I was sitting here now, tonight, with you, and I must admit I'm still crying. But it's not sad tears, it's happy tears to a large degree, because I think the core essence of this movie and this story is about hope. Hope and opportunities. If Mats, in his condition, could do so much for so many, then imagine what we could do, all of us together, if we really wanted. So it is a story about hope and opportunities, first and foremost. But I'm still crying, and 132 show screenings, yes. But not all of them, not all of them.
Well, good for you. Isaac, do you want me to start to ask?
We would love to take some questions from the audience.
He's the boss. Thank you.
We'll pass the
Really,
microphone
takes a
around.
lot
I
of
see
courage.
I see a hand up on
And you
up
did
on
a
top.
great job. Are you going to take the questions from the audience, or am I?
We're passing a microphone.
Oh, you're going to do that. Can I put my mic down? Is my question.
You can put your mic down,
Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
Hi, congratulations, and thank you very much for sharing with all of us. It's a wonderful story. Well, my question is about prejudices, like the things that you realize afterwards that he wasn't living a full life. You thought, and it actually was in many ways, or are prejudices about against video games or things other people do that we don't understand. And the question is more like if you like to share a reflection with us about these prejudices, because I feel like we, like as a society, we have learned to overcome and handle, to a certain degree, many forms of prejudices. And a lot of people think that inclusiveness, it's just about sexual orientation and those kind of things. And don't necessarily think of inclusiveness when it comes to like mental spectrum diversity, physical limitations that some people have, or different physicalities. So just, like how you, what can you share with us from overcoming your own prejudices and what you have seen?
I can start, and then the rest of the panel can continue. I think that we, again, believed that we were extremely open to most things, as we believed that we were the best generation parents ever born. And it's, in a way, these surprises, these kind of situations that you suddenly are in the midst of, which you are not prepared for, that in a way challenges us on this prejudice and things like that. I think that Anne, which was one of the friends from the gaming world of Mats, she came to the funeral as one of the 5. She came from London in England. And when she came to the funeral, she was 62. And she was an educated psychologist. She worked as a headhunter in the European Union system. And when she came, and she's 160 centimeters high, so she was everything which a gamer is not. She was not. She didn't have pimples. She didn't drink Pepsi Cola. She wasn't sitting in a basement gaming all day. And she came to me and she said that if you are like most parents, maybe we should have a dinner before the funeral and we can tell a little bit about what is happening there. And she also told me that it's a good thing that in the gaming world you don't see age. Because if I had brought Mats, who was 25 years old, physically back to my home, a woman of 62, what would my neighbors have said? So it's all kind of prejudice we have, isn't it? And she told me that in the gaming world, you don't see age. You don't see color of the skin. You don't see ethnic background. You don't see handicaps. You don't see makeup. You don't see clothes. And then she told me that when I am so tired of the role-playing game of this world, then I log on to World of Warcraft. And then I have to ask her, what do you mean about that? Well, when I'm in Brussels and I'm headhunting new leaders in the European Union, they all look alike. They have the same suits, the same shoes, the same ties. They say the same things, and they have rehearsed before they came and meet me. I don't know who these people are. And when I do that Monday to Friday, finally I can meet the real people, and I meet them online. And that's when I realized that when Mats was accused for being a ladies' man, what have made women find Mats so interesting? I'm sure it was not his looks, because they couldn't see him, and if they could, it would not be so attractive, maybe. It isn't his wealth, because he wasn't rich. It wasn't his car. He didn't play football on the best team, or he didn't do any sports at all. So what was it? In the end, it was his values, and who he really wanted to be, and that is what we call the personality. And I've been thinking that, is there anything purer, anything better, anything more good than fall in love with a person's personality? So maybe we can solve this prejudice thing by taking away all the visible things. Maybe we should all go blind sometimes and just listen to the people we're meeting. So these are some of the reflections, I think, that we have had coming out of this story. Benjamin, you want to add something?
I think you said it very well.
They always do like that.
We got a question right here.
I just thought it was beautiful how wholesome everybody was in the community. And for people, I guess what people worry about, adults worry about the children, is them meeting people who are posing as someone who is potentially dangerous. So that would be my only kind of prejudice with this. And how do people how do people know what, and I'm sure there's various communities and not all of them are that wholesome. So I have no idea how people go about navigating it. How would people support their students or kids going about navigating it so they have a beautiful community like that and not something that's dangerous?
I'm in Norway. I'm heading a committee which have been established by the Norwegian government, looking after what are the dangers and what are the advantages of the screen usage for people between 0 and 19. And I think what we see very clearly is that there are, of course, lots of challenges. So we shouldn't be making this the ideal situation. This is one way of looking at it, and there are thousands of other ways. The big problem with these digital arenas, as I can see it, at least in Norway, and I guess this is the same here in New York and the US as well, the adults are not there. They are not there. And the young people, they tell us that we experience bad things online, and we would have loved to have some adults there to help us. But we don't want you to shut our online world down, like we saw with Lisette. Her parents wanted to help her with her grades. They took away the computer, but they didn't understand that they took away her friends. And as a consequence, it led to deep mental problems. And she also, at times, started to question herself what it was worth living for further. And that, in a way, exemplifies, I think, the big gap in generations between what is so important for the young people. In Norway, 80% of all teenagers game more than 1 hour every day, 80%. 90% of the boys, 70% of the girls. At the same time, 80% of their parents still say in 2024 they have no idea what they're doing. So the by far largest time consumer in the leisure time of our teenagers is not understood at all by the parents or the adults. I think there is the biggest challenge for us as a society. The adults should have been more present and should be more present in the online world of our kids. And thereby we could also maybe be supportive and helpful when, and I'm not saying if, but when they come into difficult situations. Because they do, as they do on the football field and in the shopping market or wherever they go in their time in the physical world as well.
I'm just going to close with a few words. I know. There's more questions, and you could all, of course, join up and ask one-on-one afterwards. But we're here at a community center, which is just a fascinating place to show a film that's actually about community and how virtual communities and how important community is within our lives, and whether it's in person or virtual. And we've shown here at ReelAbilities other films that actually also go into what the virtual world has brought to the disability community and how it connects people. And during the pandemic, the first year that ReelAbilities went virtual, we got tons of emails from people saying, thank you, this was the first time I was able to attend your festival because it was virtual. And I feel this very much ties into a part of the world that we are a part of. And again, the film drops on the 25th on Netflix. So please be sure to share with your friends. And I want to thank you all for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Sheila, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing this story with us. Sheila, thank you for moderating. Have a good night, everyone.
Tack.